ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Om. May the divine lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Welcome to the Sunday service. And as you see in the background, we have a different altar, Thakurma Swamiji in different forms. It is in fact a devotee's house in Saskatoon, in the province of Saskatchewan. So, uh, but the Thakurma Swamiji is everywhere, but we miss our altar at the Toronto Center. And today's talk is about love, and it's the pure love, and the pure love also Radha's pure love, very highly intense love of Radha for God, for Krishna. And this has inspired so many sadhakas to realize God. And Radha has set the love. What should be the level of love for God? Radha represents a devotee. Though in stories, this Radha Krishna and Yugala Murti, all those things have come in our tradition as inspired people since Krishna's time, maybe 4,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, we don't know. But from since that time, Radha and Krishna's that life is inspiring for uh, to be an example of ultimate love. And Swami Vivekananda says it's most misunderstood also. People thinking it is a love between a man and woman or between a boy and girl, but it is not that type of love that we find like infatuation or the worldly love between a man and woman like that. It is love between God and devotee. And what type of love? Supreme love between God and devotee. Radha represents devotee, and Sri Krishna is God incarnate. So, what is love then? So, love is something that is very. We all know what is love. We have some our beloved, our parents, our children, our householders have spouse, husband has love for wife, wife for husband. So these are all signs of love. But the word comes is our love for the worldly things, and the worldly relationship is pure love or not. What is pure love? So that is the thing. Pure love is where there is no trace of selfishness. All our heart is uh, for the for the being whom we love. That becomes pure love. So in case of our human relationship and human love, it is very difficult to find pure love. It's always tainted with something that is with us. At most we may be very loving to our persons, our children. We seem to expect nothing from our children. I just want children to grow well, and that's just my love for them. But somehow inside there is lurking some interest, some expectation. Oh, when I grow old, they will help me, or if problem comes, they will grow up and they will earn money and feed me. That type thought was there, like love for our children is like investment. I invest on you today, and when I need that, you give me back, pay me back. So according to the definition of love, that is not love at all. That is like investment, like shopkeeping. I do it now, so you give me later. So that is not the pure love. So we may think we have to be very careful about saying that we love pure. My love for my mother is very pure, or my mother says my love for my child. I don't expect anything from my child, but somehow whether some selfishness is there inside or not. One Swami Bhuteshanandji, when he was young, he told his mother that it's often we expect in love. Mother said, No, I don't expect anything from you. Just I want you to be a good person, a great person, a successful person, a happy person. I don't think I don't expect anything from you. So the Maharaj, though he was young, he said, okay, but you love me dearly, I know. But why do you love only me? Not, why not other boy of my age? So that there is connection. You think me to be yours and others are not yours the way I am. So there is something is there, that that attachment is there, and there is something very exclusive for me. So that means there is some lack of pure love. In pure love there is no distinction, you love everyone. It becomes so huge, nobody can be excluded in pure love. In pure love of God also it happens the same way. So love, like we have many emotions, sometimes it is said, oh, like anger and hatred, love is also an emotion or a feeling of the heart. Actual definition of love says love is not emotion, it is very basis of our very true nature. When our mind becomes pure, what exists here, all this hatred and envy and jealousy and greed, all they go away, and lust, all they go away. What remains is love. Love is not something that you have to find anew. Love is something that is your very nature. Human beings basic the very nature, as like Satchit Ananda. That Ananda is in fact it manifests as love for God, for the world. So when the love is actually it's not a feeling, it's a, what is love then if it is not emotion? It is a divine power, the power that inspire in us to 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 be one with our beloved. When God is our beloved, we just want to be one without any reason. That's why it's called ahaituki bhakti, the bhakti without any reason. Why do we love God? So because God provides us life, he nurtures us, he protects us, and he gives us air to breathe and the sun for light. No, that is not the pure love. Pure love of God would be, why do we love God? I don't know, but I just love God. This is my very nature to love God. When Duryodhana was asked, when Yudhishthira was asked, why do we love God? We are in so much trouble. God is not taking anything. We are going from hiding to hiding and from forest to forest for the last 12 years, and still you are so devoted to God. Yudhishthira said, I love God not because of something that expecting from God. I love God because God is love. There is no way but I can love God. Just love, because He is the condensed love that my heart naturally goes to Him. And he gave the example showing the Himalayas. You see, there is Himalayas in front of me, so lovable. But if you ask, why do you love Himalayas? What do you get from Himalayas? We love Himalayas not because we get something. We just love without any reason. Ahaituki bhakti, pure love for something that is lovable. So God is that love, and love is our true nature. Love just unites. It makes us one. It is our very core of our the soul of our soul is nothing but love. That's why they call God is love. That means that wherever there will be God manifesting, the love automatically comes. And how does love express? It is an expression of love that we find joy. Wherever there is love, there is a joy is expressed. And the pure love, the infinite joy, the amount of the purity of love, amount of less of expectation, the greater the joy for us. So this is the love that we have. Love is often compared with bhakti. What is the difference between bhakti and love? Bhakti is nothing but love. It is love for God. When love is there for our relationship, it may not be pure bhakti. love, true love, 100% love as our in our relationship, still we call love, some percent of love. But bhakti is the true love for God is called bhakti. Not always that bhakti is a 100% love in the beginning. Love has to be nurtured. Bhakti has to be grown, practiced and grown. So so to define bhakti, the great bhakta Narada, he defined bhakti as sa tasmin parama prema rupa. Bhakti is supreme love for God. Parama prema, prema itself is so supreme, and among the prema also it has to be supreme love for God. That is true bhakti. So when we say bhakti, I love God, I have bhakti. He's a great bhakta, you say. But how much intensity he with how much intensity the person loves God, on that depends on his his true bhakti he has or not, or she has or not. So sa tasmin parama prema rupa. And what happens when such devotion, true bhakti comes? And that when true bhakti comes, then Sa tasmin parama prema rupa amrita swarupa cha. It is a sign of immortality. Immortality is not just not dying, not just living forever. Immortality is the bliss itself. That existence, knowledge, bliss, existence is another form of immortality. That what is immortality? Existence is not existence. That existence is manifested as ananda, as bliss, in the sense of amrita swarupacha. It is a supreme bliss. That pure love for God is the form of supreme bliss. And when it is bliss, always undying bliss, ever bliss, no worries, no anxieties, no fear, all is conquered with that amrita, with that devotion, and you are bliss in all conditions. Nothing can make you sad when you have attained pure devotion for God. That's what Narada says. And he defines later what happens when we get love for God, when the bhakti arises in us. That when bhakti arises, this is the quality, the sign of bhakti is यम लब्ध्वा न किंचित सोचति न वांछति न द्वेष्टि न रमते नोत्साही भवति. When one attains that love of God, that pure love of God, yam labdva na kinchit sochati, doesn't become sad for anything. Sorrow is totally gone, not a trace of sorrow. Why not a trace of sorrow? Because the person finds identity with God, oneness with God. God being his all thoughts are consumed in the thought of God. So no sorrow, no worries and anxieties, all are gone. Na kinchit sochati, not a trace of worries is there. Na vanchati. When such a satisfaction has come, then he doesn't expect anything, he doesn't want anything. न किंचित सोचति न वांछति न द्वेष्टि. Where is there question of having some enmity with someone, hatred with someone? No hatred towards anything and anyone in the world. The other thing or other situation may be very adverse to this person, but there is no word hatred in that person. That person can never think or utter, I hate this. Hate doesn't exist in that person. Na dvesti, na sochati, na dvesti, na ramate. After that, he doesn't become attached with anything else other than God. Na ramate not sahi bhavati. He doesn't seek any other way to, he doesn't have to seek, it automatically happens. There is nothing else that seems to be desirable in this world except the God he has got. Nothing else. Not long life, not healthy life, not the mukti. Nothing is desired. What is desired? Total and inseparable love of God, thought of God, remaining with God. Little of separation from God would be very painful for that person. That's called biraha. Always immersed in the thought of God, always immersed into God. That is what immersing into God. When Sri Krishna says, Vishate tadanantaram. When you think me with undivided attention and with all thoughts given to me, then Vishate tadanantaram, where you enter into me by knowing me in truth who I am. You enter, you become one, surrounded totally with God. So nothing exists in your life but only God exists. So that's how it is defined about love. And it says some that what happens with love. That's what it is said. Uh, uh, so that is definition of love given by bhakti given by Narada. So that what is pure love then? Pure love is also called in Gita. We find the word abhicharini bhakti. Mangchayo abhivyacharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatitaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. So one who worship me with abhicharini bhakti. What is the worshipping abhicharini bhakti? Abhyabhicharini bhakti. Vyabhicharini is something that is pure, unchaste, something mixed, alloy. Pure is 100% devotion. There is nothing else but pure love for that being. Abhyabhicharini. If we have Abhyabhicharini bhakti for me, says Sri Krishna, undivided with undivided mind, you love me. Then what will happen? Sagunan samati tetan. All the basic qualities of this word, sattva, raja, tama, you all overcome, you transcend that. Then Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate, and that person becomes Brahman. Through bhakti, the person attains the knowledge of Brahman, he merges with Brahman, he becomes Brahman. As the idea aham Brahmasmi can be experienced just through by the power of bhakti, but that bhakti has to be abhyabhicharini bhakti, pure love, love undivided and for God and God alone and for nothing else. So this bhakti path is taught for the householders mostly. The sannyasis are supposed to be following the jnana path, but there is no difference between jnana and bhakti. It is same. Loving God is very important thing. In jnana also some love for the that Brahman has to be there, by which you will try to attain that Brahma jnana. So dedication comes from that love for the knowledge of truth. That is called bhakti again. That's what Shankara also defines bhakti as search for that reality is bhakti. Swaswarupanusandhanam bhakti reva vidhiyate. Bhakti is a search for one's true nature, one's true self. That is bhakti. So that's how Shankara defined bhakti as very basis of finding the truth. So this is what about pure bhakti. We have not yet come at the Radha's pure love. So when pure bhakti is like that, so what will be Radha's bhakti? So bhakti is often in the Shastra defined as Gauni bhakti and as Para bhakti. Two types of bhakti. One is called Gauni bhakti. One is called Para bhakti. Parabhakti is the supreme love, the pure love, the 100% love, the Abhyabhicharini bhakti. What is Gauni bhakti? The Gauni bhakti comes first, then comes the pure bhakti. Gauni is the beginner's love for God, the devotion by which we try to attain the Parabhakti or the pure bhakti, Shuddha bhakti. So in Gauni bhakti comes the process by which our love for God grows, our love for divine that becomes mature love. So in Gauni Bhakti, how to have that Para Bhakti? Through Gauni Bhakti, we have to process and proceed. And Gauni Bhakti is that is developed by all the rituals that we perform, keeping the photograph of our chosen ideal and looking at the chosen ideal, arranging flowers and praying with some mantras and praying with the silent mind and our outpouring of our heart, conversing with the Lord, and feeling that Lord is for everything. Whatever you need, you go to choose an ideal. Whatever you find and attain, you go to choose an ideal to express your gratitude to your chosen ideal. Divine, the God or a divine mother, anyone, choose an ideal. All these are signs of Gauni Bhakti. Then you meditate on Divine Mother or Divine Lord, you choose an ideal. Then you repeat the name. And in all these repeating the name of the Lord, and performing the ritualistic worship with flowers and other articles and incense, or meditating on the Lord, all these make us progress towards that supreme bhakti. After attaining supreme bhakti, Sri Ramakrishna says, when you have attained that, then no need of any ritualistic worship, Gauni Bhakti. You just remember God, and God, you are in God. So that will happen. To attain that, we have to go through Gauni Bhakti. So that is very important. Gauni Bhakti is so important to attain Para Bhakti. Para Bhakti is the supreme love. Now, Radha's love. Radha is the epitome of the love for God. The Shuddha Bhakti, how much the Shuddha Bhakti and what type of behavior will be, if Arjuna would ask to Sri Krishna, he asked that how a person of knowledge, sthira prajna, he said, steadfast mind, how he talks and how he walks and how he sits and how he behaves, that Arjuna asked, and Sri Krishna told about the this signs of those things, sthita pragyasya lakshanam. So, if Arjuna had asked, what is the sign of parabhakti? How does this person walk and behave and talk, and how does a person feel? Then Krishna would have perhaps said, given the example, and answer in one word, and that would be Radha. Radha represents the supreme love. So Radha is nothing but the supreme love. Radha is the devotee, the para bhaktini is, and also it told in the feminine form, because bhakti itself is the feminine word. So that's why para bhakti, not param bhakti. Why para bhakti? Because para and param are the same, supreme. Because bhakti is feminine word, that's why para also, the supreme also becomes, the adjective also becomes in feminine. Para bhakti, param jnanam, like that it happens. So Radha and bhakti go together. Supreme bhakti and Radha go together. Radha is personification of Krishna's love. Love for Krishna personified would become Radha. Love for God personified will become Radha. So Krishna is supposed to have three kinds of power. So Radha is the divine consort, the power of Krishna. Yathagner dahika shakti. As the burning power of fire and the fire are inseparable, similarly Radha and Krishna are inseparable. When Radha and Krishna are worshipped in the Yugala Murti, that is Radha you can see and Krishna you cannot see. But when we worship Krishna alone, there is Radha already inside. Without Radha, there is no Krishna. Krishna, Radha is the power of Krishna. In fact, it is said Krishna has three powers. One is Bahishakti, external power, which manifested as his beauty, as his charm, his form itself is so powerful. Looking at Krishna is so powerful. He's peaceful, he is serene, he is charming. So all that becomes the power of Krishna, external power of Krishna in his wonderful divine form as the human being. It's so different from other human beings. We love our children, we love our parents, we love our friends. We keep often their photographs in our place. We love, no doubt. But having the photograph or likeness of, there's no photograph, the likeness of Krishna painted, imagine that itself on the altar, that attracts our mind more than any other, our love, when our love for God grows. So that is the external power of Krishna, the power of the form of Krishna, that is external power. There is another power called Anta Shakti, inner power. What is the inner power of Krishna? Inner power of Krishna is intellectual power. The power that we also gain in our intellect. When our intellect becomes purified, takes the right decision, and it gives guides us in the right path. If intellect is impure, we will not succeed in this life or in any of our endeavor. When intellect is purified, it starts manifesting the power of God. So Krishna has that power as his intellect. how he worked throughout his life, his heart, his mind, all this Antashakti, power of Krishna, God's intellectual power, Krishna's intellectual power. There is still third Shakti that's called that Ladini Shakti, the joyful power of God, and that Ladini Shakti is Radha. Radha often is described as Ladini Shakti, Hladini, Ladini Shakti of Krishna. The power of joy that emanates, that's why this power, Ladini Shakti, is emanated in Krishna in all this Anta Shakti, Bhai Shakti, all is emanated and energized through that Ladini Shakti. Though it is described as the Ladini or the joyful or blissful power of Sri Krishna, but that is the one power of Sri Krishna which called Radha is manifested as all three powers, where Ladini Shakti, the blissful power, Radha, the bliss of love of God. So that is more described in the Vaishnava Shastras, that how the joy of love of God comes from that we love Sri Krishna, or we get so much joy of our because of our bhakti for Krishna. What is that bhakti Krishna is granting? It says, no, it is not Krishna granting. Radha is manifesting in your heart. Your heart is becoming pure, and Ladini Shakti of Sri Krishna is manifesting, and that Ladini Shakti is Radha. More of Radha manifests in us, more we become divine. So that's how it is described in the Vaishnava Shastras. When love attains to the highest pitch, it constitutes itself into Radha, who is the most lovable of all and full of all qualities. She was the object of the highest love of Krishna, and being idealized as love, some of the agreeable feelings of the heart are considered her ornaments. In the Gita Govinda, Radha stands in relation to Krishna as his consort. She is neither a wife nor a devoted rustic playmate. She is an intense, solitary, proud figure who is addressed as Shri, Chandi, Manini, Bhamini, and Kamini. She is portrayed as Krishna's partner in a mature and exclusive love in his Leela in Vrindavan, Mathura, and Dwaraka, and of course in the great teaching that he imparted in Kurukshetra. All that is with his Shakti, with his Radha. Without Radha, they say, without Radha, Krishna is if Adha. So there is Krishna is half. He is not Krishna in full. So Krishna to become full has to be always with Radha. So that is the philosophical background of how Radha is considered. In Vidyapati's work, Radha is depicted as a young girl, barely 12 years old, while Krishna is depicted slightly older than her and as an aggressive lover. In the work of poet Chandidas, Radha is depicted as a bold woman who is unafraid of social consequences. Radha abandons all social propriety in the name of her love for Krishna. In loving Krishna, Radha violates the basis of caste, showing no care for the realities of social structures. Love consumed her to that extent that Radha is supposed to be that way. So, Radha's love has transcended all the system of love. They say once when Krishna got, in the Leela of Krishna, Krishna got sick, terrible headache. And then the devotee came. Krishna said, if any devotees, dust of devotees' feet, true devotees' feet, dust, if I get, then it will be cured. So people went to different devotees and said, Krishna is sick, can you help? Yes, yes, I can give my life for Krishna. Can you give the dust of your feet that will cure? Dust of feet to Krishna, my beloved, my worshipable being? No, I cannot do that. It is sacrilegious. It will be too, I cannot think of touching something touched with my feet, and with that Krishna's head will be touched. So nobody could give. And finally, the person went to Radha and said, "Can you give that?" "Oh, Krishna, that will be cured by this." Immediately, she gave the dust of her feet to cure Krishna. There is no limit of this. He is greater, he is worshipable, nothing that. Krishna, anything good, Radha would do. So once they say Krishna went to Chandravali's house. Chandravali invited. And Radha was thinking, oh, how will she feed her? How will she take care of feed him? How will she take care of him and all that? And people asked, are you being egoistic about Krishna? Only you can do and others cannot do. So Radha replied beautifully, yes, there is ego, but whose ego is this? This is all the ego of Krishna, Krishna's love. Nothing for herself, only for Krishna. That was Radha's thing. So, story of Radha goes that once when Vrishabhanu, one person came, was taking bath in Yamuna, and in the village of Varsana. And there he was meditating on God, and suddenly he found something touch his body while he was within inside the water. And then he opens the eyes, sees a huge lotus, thousand petal lotus. And on that lotus is a little girl, just newly born girl is on that lotus. And seeing the girl, he picks the girl in his arm, and then comes home and gives to his wife. Seeing this beautiful girl, wife was also very happy to find someone God's gift. So they start raising this gift. He gave the name Radha, which means Ra means rasa or the joy. Dha means which goes towards that rasa. So one who always rushes towards God is the meaning of Radha. The pure love that flows towards God. The Radha is pure love for God. The very word Radha is synonymous with pure love. So the story says that Radha, she was not opening her eyes, so and not speaking anything, and for months, weeks passed, months passed. After 1 year, one day Krishna was brought from with Narada. He comes, Narada and Nanda. Krishna comes to the house of this Vrishabhanu, and then Krishna, that 1 year old boy touches the eyes of Radha. Radha immediately opens the eyes. Radha would not see anything other than Krishna. Her first sight would be Krishna. Love at first sight. So love was already there for God. And Radha would not accept anything other than Krishna to see. So love at first sight become very personified in the story of Radha. And then she opens, and the Leela of Radha Krishna is so, there is so much of this expression and explanation in the Vrindavan Leela of Sri Krishna. Though in Vrindavan, Sri Krishna was there only for 12 years, and then he left Vrindavan for Mathura. But in 12 young years, the first 12 years of his life, and Radha was also young. But Radha, there's some stories say Radha was a little older than Krishna. Some say Radha was younger, as I just read you from Vidyapati's work. That's a young girl and 12 years old. That depicted slightly older, and Krishna was depicted slightly older. But some tradition says he was slightly older than Krishna. So that's how different books describe differently about Radha. But Radha's whole heart was in Krishna alone, or her every bit of heart would say Krishna, Krishna. And they say Krishna when he used to play flute, the word used to come Radha, Radha. That would come from the flute of Krishna. That was the love between God and the devotee. They say that first the devotee goes towards God. God and devotee cannot live without God. So that is how the bhakta's relationship with God. When the bhakti matures, that is the only relationship, that is the only thing that wanted. But the story is the half. When bhakta becomes so devoted to God, God also becomes so equally attracted towards a bhakta. He also cannot remain without that bhakta. That's why Sri Krishna is to always say Radha, Radha when he was played the flute. So Radha's love of Krishna, though Radha word is not said in the Vrindavan in the Bhagavata Purana, but in the Bhagavata Purana there are stories of gopis' love for Krishna. Gopis are all uh, cow mates that mates in the Vrindavan. So they used to love, and they were mainly of nurturing cows and selling the cow products, milk and yogurt and clarified butter. That was their business, butter. So that depended on the cow and its product as for their livelihood. That is how so simple were that village people. But this gopi's love for for Krishna is depicted so beautifully in Vrindavan. Though Radha word is not there, and it is said Radha is one of the gopis, the leader of the gopis, the main character of the gopis. Wherever gopis love is described, it is actually Radha's love in other form. So Swami, our Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who so he when he was a great scholar, and he had read the Bhagavatam. Reading this thing Bhagavatam, or they said even God himself, um, in he saw how devotees love him, Krishna. So Krishna found that Radha is so joyful by loving Krishna. So he said, I want to have that joy. I'm not experiencing the joy of a devotee for God. So having uh, that will, that to enjoy the devotee, enjoy the joy of a devotee of her love for God as Radha, Krishna became Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He incarnated as the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Whether his body was Chaitanya, was male, man's body, but his heart was all Radha's heart. So he was God and the devotee is one. As I said, we cannot think of Krishna without Radha inside her. So, like that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself was expressing Radha's love, though himself he was the incarnation of Krishna. So enjoy the the love, pure love of Radha. So God has to take the form and do the lila of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this world. So that is the expression that is said in the Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavata, all those incarnation in Chaitanya Lila. Um, that is the purpose of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But we know from historical points of view how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made this bhakti or love of God for everyone in the society. Nobody was excluded. No adhikari or the person having the qualities. What are the qualities to be a bhakta will be there. It is not said anyone can become a devotee of God. Just starting repeating the name of God, name of Krishna, and you will grow in love for Krishna. That's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu preached the name of God as the tool to reach God. So repeat the name of God loudly in Sankirtan or silently in your mind. Think of God. Be consumed with the thought of God. That all Krishna's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's life had shown for us, and society was transformed. He united the society and gave to everyone without any distinction, poor and rich, learned and illiterate, or man and woman. This bhakti movement was very intensified by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Historically, if we see, and if we see mythologically, he was Sri Krishna incarnate with all the feelings of Radha to enjoy Radha's love for God. So it was so intense, God had to incarnate to experience that. So Radha's love for God is a very pure love. It is not to be experienced by ordinary human being or jiva. Only divine persons can do that. They say that Radha was born again as Mirabai. Mirabai tried to have that sort of consummation in the thought of Krishna, who says, Mere to Giridhara Gopala Dusra no koi. She was a queen in the palace. She was married to a prince, had a wonderful, comfortable living, but she gave up everything for the love of Krishna. Love of Krishna became the main joy of her life. So that is what The Mirabai often said, all full of thought of Radha, some even say, and Radha incarnated herself because so much of love for Krishna is not seen in ordinarily in other persons. So she is very close to the love of Radha. So when Sri Ramakrishna met Bhairavi Brahmani, so Bhairavi Brahmani saw Sri Ramakrishna, and Sri Ramakrishna's first question was, I have so much burning sensation in my body, and it's not going through any medicine. Can you say some cure for this? As if she was a doctor. She was just a devotee of God, Bhairavi Brahmani, who is to practice Vaishnava Tantras. And seeing Sri Ramakrishna, she immediately said, my son, your burning sensation of the body is not ordinary ailment. It is not with the physical anything. It is because of Mahabhava, that supreme love you have for God. Because of that, it has happened. And instances of this Mahabhava, your burning sensation, your blood oozing from the hair follicles, and even wherever you see that earth becomes so hot, all this extraordinary experience that you are having is because of your intensest love for God. And such experience had been experienced only two persons before, and one was Radha Rani, second was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and third is you, that is experiencing the supreme Mahabhava or prema for God, that intense love for God. No human being can experience this love for God, love of God. So that she said. So from Radha, that love of God was experienced by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and that was again experienced by Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna, to have love of Krishna, he also, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he also, in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is the Sri Krishna come in the form of man's body, in the form of man. But Sri Ramakrishna, though a man, he tried to imitate Radha in everything, not only in thinking of Krishna intensely and without any other thought, but even in his appearance, he used to wear sari, that women's dress. He used to wear ornaments, and he used to talk and walk like Radha in his uh, practice of this madhura bhava, or love of God through this intensest love of a devotee. He became like Radha. He dressed up, lived, talked, behaved like Radha. He was full of Radha. He had become Radha to enjoy the love of Radha for Sri Krishna. So that is what is Sri Krishna sadhana in the form of Radha. Sri Ramakrishna had a high regard for Radha. Mm, when Sri Ramakrishna, in his in when he said to our Swami Vivekananda, Narendranath, that you will have to live to teach others, to give them spiritual knowledge, to remove their suffering of worldliness, that they are burning with the fever of worldliness, and you are born to guide them, to teach them, to relieve them from the pain of worldliness, from the intense suffering from the worldliness. You are born for that. That's Swami Vivekananda said, Narendranath said. So no, I want to remain in samadhi, and I want to have to enjoy the bliss of being one with God. Sri Ramakrishna said, no, that is a very narrow thing for you. You are a huge person like a banyan tree, and under your shade, the people will come and find peace, and cool their thoughts, and we find peace in their life. And to that, Sri Ramakrishna not only said, he wrote on a piece of paper, and he said, নরেন শিক্ষে দেবে যখন ঘরে বাইরে হাঁক দিবে. These things he wrote. Naren will teach. শিক্ষে দেবে. The teaching, not just our teaching. His teaching will be making people understand God. He will bring God to them. That teaching is so important. When will it teach? যখন ঘরে বাইরে হাঁক দিবে, when you will give a clarion call at home and abroad. So বাইরে is in the world, ঘরে is in his country. When he will do that, the sequence was little perhaps changed. He first gave the call from the west to the whole world, and then he came to India and gave lectures from Colombo to Almora. But he did as Sri Ramakrishna said. Where Radha comes in this? Radha comes because before writing his command in his own handwriting, Sri Ramakrishna has written Jai Radhe Premamayi. So his first was a Radha Premamayi. All Swami Vivekananda teaching will be the teaching of love. He may talk of Vedanta and Brahma Jnana, and he, in one of his poems towards a friend, for a friend, and this is called Shakar Prati in Bengali, he says it ultimately what remains is love and love alone. Love that is all consuming, that alone is the truth. I have tried so much of sadhana. I have meditated in the forest and in the mountain caves and the forest. But at last I found it is love alone that takes the ferry across the ocean of samsara. Love is so powerful, divine power. And that Sri Ramakrishna had said, Jai Radhe Premamai. He remembered Radha to give this command to Narendranath. You will be teaching, not only command, just as like prophetic words in writing he did. Sri Ramakrishna used to write very little, but this thing he give in writing. Jai Radhe Premamai. Those are the words with which he started. So Radha is a sign of positive love, affirmation, purity. All that comes in the word Radha. Still today in Vrindavan, there Vrindavan is the Leela of Krishna. Radha was born in Barsana. But people in Vrindavan, they don't say Jai Shri Krishna. What they say? Radhe Radhe. They remember Radha. Radha has the devotion. They want to reach to Krishna. They want to get Krishna. But no, Krishna, to get Krishna, you will have to become like Radha. Otherwise, you will not attain Krishna. Radhe Radhe is the slogan and the greeting word in Vrindavan among the human beings, among the devotees. They greet each other with not Jai Shri Ram or Namaste, like that. They say Radhe Radhe. They remember Radha as the supreme love for Krishna, the pure love of for Krishna. If it has to come, it will come through the Radha Bhava when we come like Radha. Once when Mirabai went to Vrindavan to see Goswami. Actually, Vrindavan was discovered by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It had all lost its all Leela. People didn't know where is Vrindavan. There was a place there. It had all become forest and nothing was known. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went through the grove of Vrindavan, he found here was the Leela of Krishna was done. This is the real Vrindavan. And after finding that holy place, most lovable place for Sri Krishna, for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he made one of his disciples reside there. That one Goswami of the three Goswamis, he was there. And once they said Mirabai came to visit Vrindavan, and he wanted to meet Goswamiji, and she sent notice that I want to see Goswamiji, such a great devotee of God, the direct disciple of Sri Krishna Chaitanya or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But there were the strong rules of monastic order. He was a monk, so he sent notice that I don't see any woman. I don't talk with them, or I don't even give interview to any woman. Then Mirabai sent back the message. Oh, I thought in Vrindavan there is only one man, only one Purusha. All are like the Radha. Devotees of God are like the Radha. Radha and the word Radha and become devotee of God become synonymous. Radha is the name for bhakti. Radha is no more the person that love Krishna, and so many stories have said about that. But Radha is the synonym for pure love for God. So she said that notice only there is only one person who is loved by all women, or like that means Radha. So I found there is another Purusha here, another man here, and he distinguishes between the man and woman. And when when Goswamiji saw this, heard this message, he immediately came and said, "No, I was wrong. Here, all we are Radhas here, and only one Purusha is Sri Krishna, and there is no distinction between man or woman. Devotees are all devotees of that God. Gender, etc. When we have body idea, body consciousness, then only there is gender. When this body consciousness is transcended, body identity is transcended, then what remains is only devotee of God. There is no man and woman. That Goswamiji, the great scholar, he was reminded by Mirabai. That's the story that goes that way. Anyway, Sri Ramakrishna also went to Vrindavan, and he was consumed with the love of Radha at that time also. He took bath in the Shyam Kunda and Radha Kunda, went through Govardhan and did all the rituals, went to Yamuna, and in the evening he used to cry for Krishna. I say everything is like you. And he went back to the Krishna's time, and Krishna would come, and the cows would come, cowherd boys would come. That was there that time also, Sri Ramakrishna's time. But he says everything is there, but I don't find you. He was so much occupied with the thought of Krishna, wanted to see, and was full of the feeling of Radha there. So much of episode of Sri Ramakrishna in Vrindavan. He enjoyed being Vrindavan. He once even decided that he will stay after that in Vrindavan itself, consumed with the love, identity with Radha, and consumed with the love of God as Krishna. And there was one all set when Ganga Mai was there, devotee of Krishna. He said, "You can stay here. I will take your care," and all that. And finally, Hridaya said to him, "But there is your mother in Dakshineshwar. Mother by mother, his own Chandra Devi, not mother, divine mother Kali." He said, "Yes, I have a mother. I cannot leave her alone." He came back because of the love of mother or caring of mother. So we get Sri Ramakrishna's Leela all done in Dakshineshwar. Otherwise, Sri Ramakrishna would be in Vrindavan if Hridaya had not reminded. That's how the Leela goes, you see. And love of mother was so important for Sri Ramakrishna. Every day he used to go and meet her mother when she was staying in Nahabat, and say, "Mother, how are you keeping?" Once a day he would meet, and that was his love. All he was consumed with love of God. Whole day he was to talk of God, and nothing was there in his life but God. And that very Sri Ramakrishna, always intoxicated with the love of God. Amay dema pagol kore, to mother, make me mad with thy love. But he would not neglect his duties towards his mother, towards his wife Sri Sharada Devi, divine consort, towards his devotees, towards anyone. That's such a great balance in this extraordinary lover of God. That's what happens when we love God. You love God, and you love this world more than any other lovable person can do. The devotee of God loves everyone in this world as seeing them as God. He cannot neglect anyone from nothing is out of their love. That's what the love of God happens. How to attain this supreme love of God? So, the supreme love of God, as I said, we all need to we want to attain, because that when we attain, it is Amrita Swarupa. It becomes Amrita. It's become like we become immortal in this life. To begin to have supreme love, it will go through Gauni love. Repeating God's name is very, very, very important. Without that, we cannot have Radha's pure love experience in our heart. We have to be consumed by that love. Um, To conclude today's talk, I would like to read from Swami Vivekananda's letter. It's a beautiful letter given. Letter written by Swami Vivekananda to two American devotees on July 31, 1894. Most beautiful expressions of the spirit of Bhakti Yoga, spirit of love of God. What Swami Vivekananda writes: catch a glimpse at least every day of that world of infinite beauty and peace and purity, the spiritual. and try to live in it day and night. Let your souls ascend day and night like an unbroken string unto the feet of beloved, whose throne is in your own hearts, and let the rest take care of themselves, that is, the body and everything else. Life is evanescent, a fleeting dream. Youth and beauty fade. Stay day and night, say day and night, thou art my father, my mother, my husband, my love, my Lord, my God. I want nothing but thee, thou in me, I in thee. Wealth goes, beauty vanishes, life flies, powers fly, but the Lord abideth forever. Stick to God. Who cares what comes to the body or to anything else? Through the terrors of evil, say, my God, my love. Through the pangs of death, say, my God, my love. Here I see thee. I am not of the world's, but thine. Leave me not. Do not go for glass beads, leaving the mine of diamonds. This life is a great chance. What seekest thou to pleasures of the world? He is the fountain of all bliss. See for the highest, aim at the highest, and you shall reach the highest. Swamiji said once that if all the scriptures of the world were lost and one sentence of Christ were left, religion would still remain alive in the world. That sentence is, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Purity of heart generates love of God, and that alone is the condition to have the pure love, pure Radha's love for God. Once devotees said to Sri Ramakrishna was Radha's episode. That Radha's episode, how can one love man and boy loving? How can that be the love of God? So Sri Krishna said, Sri Ramakrishna said, Radha's love was not that type of love. It was a pure love without any trace of lust or selfishness or any desire for anything for herself. It is only love and love. When love, pure love, it is so different from lust. Lust is selfish, it is painful, it is worldly, and the love and the love is divine. It is centered in other being whom we love, and it is powerful, it is elevating, it is spiritualizing, it is something that makes us, gives us freedom. That is the sign of Radha's love. Sri Swami Vivekananda Narendranath once said, there is criticism whether was Radha was ever there or not, whether Radha and Krishna were there. It seems all that it was not there. There's no proof of what is the proof of Radha. Sri Ramakrishna said very beautifully about that. And he said that, why do you want to go for whether Radha was really there or not? Somebody wrote about Radha's love. Somebody thought so intensely, the sadhaka thought how much a devotee can love God, can be consumed with the love of God, can be in the love of God, that one person can become. So when such thoughts are generated in the heart of pure sadhakas, that means it exists. That means it is there. Otherwise, such intense thought about Radha's thing will not even come in the heart of a person, in the heart of a pure sadhaka, pure sage. It won't come. So when it has come, it has definitely happened. No doubt about that. And just if you have anything doubt, just that attraction, the description of the attraction of Radha for Krishna is there. Imbibe that attraction for God in your heart, have the love of God intensely fill your heart, have the true love of Radha in your heart, and you imbibe the Radha's pure love, and you will find God, you will see God, you will talk with God, you will merge in God, you will become God Himself when we can have Radha's pure love generated and manifested through our being, through our heart. We need what we need to have that pure love, that Radha's love. We need the purity of our heart developed. All the dross, impurities of the heart has to be eliminated. How to eliminate that impurities of the heart? Anger, greed, fear, all those things. How to eliminate that? Again, by the process of bhakti, loving God, trying to go closer and closer to God. And the beauty of God is the one who, when we try, devotee tries to go closer to God by calling Him, by repeating His name, by thinking about Him, by reading His Leela. God comes closer in greater speed. The one step in Sri Ramakrishna, one step you try to move towards God, God comes 10 steps towards you. Little effort, lot of grace of God, and then it is very possible to have that Radha's pure love of God in our heart developed by our little effort and enormous grace of God. May God be that graceful. May we begin our search and for the love of God and try to remove all the impurities of our heart. And one day that purity will dawn, that love will dawn, and we will find God in this life, that where this human life will become successful, the purpose of life will be fulfilled, and when we'll have found God in this very life, and will attain the freedom from this jivana mukti will come through love of God. But that love of God should be like the Radha's pure love. Thank you very much. Now the closing chants. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai. Jai Mahamai Ki Jai. जय स्वामी जी महाराज जी की जय. जय गंगा माई की जय. जय भगवान बुद्ध की जय. जय ईशा मूषा की जय. सर्वस्तरतु दुर्गाणि सर्वो भद्राणि पश्यतु. सर्वसद्बुद्धिमाप्नोतु. सर्वत्र नन्दतु. Hari Om Tat Sat. May all be freed from dangers. May all realize what is good. May all be actuated by noble thoughts. May all rejoice everywhere. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto us all.